The night was thick with silence, broken only by the faint hum of neon lights outside the cafe window where Emily sat. Her hands trembled as she clutched her phone, staring at the picture that shattered her trust. Sarah, her best friend, smiling in an intimate embrace with Mark, Emily's boyfriend. Emily whispered, "She knew everything about me, and she still did this." The betrayal was a blade sharper than any knife, twisting deep into her chest. She replayed every laugh, every late-night secret, every promise Sarah had sworn was sacred. Her mind screamed, but her voice was quiet, suffocating under the weight of disbelief. Emily thought of the nights she had defended Sarah, the sacrifices she had made, and now it all felt like a cruel joke. The cafe's warmth mocked her, pressing down on her while her insides froze. Tears blurred her vision, but anger simmered beneath them, hotter than fire. She said softly, "You destroyed me, Sarah, but I'll make sure you regret it." Her heart fractured, but her will began to form like steel in the fire. Emily walked home under the rain, her coat soaked, her thoughts spiraling into darkness. Each step echoed with memories of Sarah's voice, sweet lies now dripping with poison. She whispered, "I defended her when no one else would." Rage surged through her veins as the betrayal replayed in loops, each image sharper than the last. The city lights blurred into chaos, mirroring her mind. Mark's face haunted her too, but Sarah's deception cut deeper. Emily's chest ached as she said, "I gave her everything, and she took everything." The streets stretched endlessly, hollow echoes filling the night. Emily knew she couldn't collapse, not now. Her pain was fuel, her anger a blade waiting to be sharpened. She thought, "This storm will not break me, it will forge me." Back in her small apartment, Emily dropped her coat onto the floor with a heavy thud. The room smelled of old books and faint lavender, a false comfort. She stared at the framed photo of her and Sarah on the shelf, their arms linked, grins bright. Emily muttered, "That smile was a mask." She wanted to shatter the frame, to erase the memory, but her hand trembled as she held it. Her chest burned as rage and sorrow collided. She slammed the photo down, glass cracking but not breaking. Her voice broke, "How could you betray me like this?" She sank to the couch, head in her hands, the world closing in. Yet, under the despair, a small flame of defiance flickered. Emily's phone buzzed on the table, Sarah's name lighting up the screen. Her stomach twisted. She whispered, "You dare call me now?" The vibration rattled like a cruel reminder of betrayal. Emily let it ring, her breath shallow, every second pounding in her chest. Finally she grabbed the phone, staring at Sarah's smiling contact photo. Her thumb hovered over accept, but she pressed decline with a firm touch. The silence that followed was heavier than the ringing. She muttered, "I'll speak when I choose, not when you demand." Emily's resolve solidified, her anger anchoring her heart. Emily sat in darkness, the city's neon glow seeping faintly through the blinds. Her chest rose and fell in ragged breaths, but her eyes glimmered with something sharper than despair. She whispered, "If trust is shattered, then vengeance will be my path." Every memory of Sarah's laughter now sounded like mockery. She clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms until they hurt. She thought of the years wasted, the sacrifices ignored, and anger flared into cold determination. Her voice was steady now. "This won't end with me broken. It will end with her exposed." The seed of revenge was planted, and it was alive. Emily sat curled on her bed, rain still tapping against her window, but her tears had long dried. Her mind echoed with Sarah's laughter, the kind that once felt like home. Now it was poison. She whispered, "Why does betrayal hurt more than heartbreak?" Her chest ached with every thought, yet her anger was alive, gnawing, demanding action. She remembered how she defended Sarah in high school, fought for her when others doubted her. Emily said softly, "I trusted her like a sister." That trust was shattered glass now, cutting with every memory. The silence in her apartment screamed louder than the storm outside, pressing against her chest. She thought of Mark, but he was just a wound. Sarah was the infection spreading deeper. Her voice was trembling yet cold, She will not escape what she did. The pain had not vanished, but it had transformed into something sharper. Her tears had ended, and what remained was resolve. The next morning, Emily met Alex at a quiet diner, the kind of place where old jukeboxes hummed faintly. Alex, her childhood friend, sat across, eyes filled with concern. He said, "You look broken." Emily forced a bitter smile. "Broken doesn't even begin to cover it." She told him about Sarah and Mark, her voice sharp, trembling with buried fury. Alex's brows furrowed as he leaned forward. "Emily, this path you're thinking of, it won't end well." She clenched her jaw, her hands tightening around the coffee mug. "Colonies trying to damn home wall. She took everything from me. I can't just let her win." The room felt too small for her rage. Alex sighed heavily, conflict written across his face. "I'll help you if I must, but I don't want to lose you too." Emily's eyes met his, determination burning. "You won't. I've already lost enough." Later that day, Emily walked into the dim bookshop tucked in an alley, the scent of old pages surrounding her. At the counter sat Robert, a mentor-like figure from her college years. His lined face softened as he looked up. "Emily, what storm follows you here?" She lowered her eyes, whispering, "Betrayal." Robert's gaze lingered, heavy with memory. He said, "Revenge is a hungry beast. It eats more than it gives." Emily's chest tightened. "I can't stop now." He rose, stepping closer, his hand resting on a shelf as if the weight of years pressed upon him. "Then promise me, do not lose yourself in it." She swallowed hard, fighting tears. "I don't know if I have anything left to lose." His silence answered more than words. Meanwhile, Sarah stood before a mirror in her pristine apartment, adjusting her necklace with steady hands. Her reflection smiled, polished and cold. She whispered, "No one will know." Mark stepped behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder. His smirk was cruel. "She'll never see it coming." Sarah tilted her head, her smile widening. Emily was always too trusting, too blind. Their laughter was quiet but sharp, slicing through the silence of the room. Yet a flicker of unease crossed Sarah's eyes. She turned away from the mirror quickly, brushing it off. "This is just the beginning," she murmured. Her confidence seemed unshakable, but shadows of doubt lingered at the corners of her smile. At night, Emily stood outside the victim's old apartment, staring at the locked door. Inside once lived Anna, a mutual friend whose life Sarah had ruined years ago with lies. Emily whispered, "I should have seen the signs." Her chest tightened with guilt, realizing Sarah's betrayal wasn't sudden but a pattern. She thought of Anna's broken career, the way she vanished from their lives. Emily's voice quivered, "She hurt you first. I'll make sure she never hurts anyone again." The hallway light flickered, buzzing faintly, adding to the unease. Her fists clenched as her vow grew stronger. "This ends with her." The night was cold, but Emily's heart burned hotter than fire. Emily sat with Robert in the bookshop's back room, dust-filled beams of light cutting across stacks of worn novels. His eyes were heavy, as if carrying years of hidden truths. He said, "I know the hunger in your eyes, Emily. I once carried it myself." She looked at him, desperate yet defiant. "Then you know why I can't stop." He leaned closer, voice steady, "Revenge will drain you. It will take more than Sarah ever did." Emily's lips pressed into a thin line as anger clashed with fear. "She stole everything, Robert. If I do nothing, she wins." His silence was broken only by the ticking clock. "Then tread carefully. Every step toward vengeance costs a piece of your soul." Emily inhaled sharply, her heart pounding. "If my soul breaks, at least it will break on my terms." Emily met Alex in a deserted park, the trees swaying under a pale evening sky. She told him about Robert's warning, but her resolve had not cracked. Alex rubbed his forehead, worry etched into his features. "You're scaring me, Emily. You're not yourself." She answered, voice low, "I'm exactly myself. For the first time, I see clearly." He shook his head, muttering, "This isn't clarity. It's obsession." Emily's fists clenched, her voice breaking. Do you know what it feels like to have your best friend cut you open and smile while doing it? Alex's silence lingered, his eyes softening. Finally, he whispered, "Then, I'll stand with you, even if I hate where it leads." Her chest tightened, but determination gleamed. "Then you'll see Sarah fall." That night, Emily sat at her desk, laptop glowing against the darkness. She scrolled through Sarah's social media, each post dripping with false smiles. Emily muttered, "You built everything on lies." Her eyes narrowed as she traced Sarah's connections, people who still believed the facade. She began collecting screenshots, piecing together timelines, building a record of contradictions. Every click echoed like hammer strikes. She whispered, "You made me your fool, but I'll make the world see you for what you are." The glow of the screen reflected on her fierce expression. A folder of evidence grew before her eyes, and with it, the first step of her plan. In the shadows of a parking lot, Sarah's enforcer waited. Michael, a towering man with cold eyes, leaned against his car. Sarah's voice echoed in his memory, "Keep Emily quiet if she stirs trouble." He lit a cigarette, smoke swirling under the dim light. He thought of debts owed, chains he could not break. Emily's face came unbidden to his mind, her fire different from Sarah's poison. He muttered to himself, "This will end badly." The lighter snapped shut, flame gone, but unease burned deeper. His role was clear: protect Sarah's secret. Yet the shadows weighed heavy, and doubt crept through cracks in his loyalty. Alone in her room, Emily stared at Anna's old journal she had borrowed years ago, forgotten until now. The faded pages whispered of pain, Sarah's lies traced in ink. Emily's hand trembled as she read, "She ruined me, and no one saw." Her throat tightened, heart pounding with guilt. "I should have protected you," she whispered to the empty room. The weight of Anna's suffering anchored her resolve. This was not only her battle. She thought of Sarah laughing in victory, and fury burned hotter. Emily clenched the journal close to her chest, her voice firm. "I'll finish what you couldn't. I'll make her pay." Emily walked quickly through the dim streets, her hood pulled low, the sound of footsteps echoing behind her. She froze, heart pounding. Turning slightly, she saw Michael step from the shadows. His voice was low, steady. "You should stop digging, Emily." Her fists clenched as fear wrestled with fury. She said, "If Sarah sent you, tell her I'm not afraid." He smirked faintly, cigarette glowing in his hand. "Fear has nothing to do with this. It's survival." Emily's eyes burned as she stepped closer. "You chose the wrong side." The silence stretched, heavy, broken only by the dripping rain from a nearby gutter. Michael's face hardened, but doubt flickered in his eyes before he turned away. His warning lingered like poison in the air. Emily darted into an alley, her pulse racing. She leaned against a brick wall, breath shaky, trying to steady herself. Her mind repeated his words, heavy and suffocating. Alex appeared at the alley's end, worry etched on his face. "Emily, are you okay?" She shook her head, eyes blazing. "He tried to scare me off, but all he did was prove Sarah's afraid." Alex stepped closer, lowering his voice. "This is dangerous. She has people watching you." Emily's jaw clenched as she whispered, "Good, let her watch me rise." The fear in her veins now felt like fuel. She thought, "She thinks she controls the game. She doesn't know I've already begun playing." Back in her apartment, Emily stared at the evidence folder growing thicker. Screenshots, messages, old notes, each piece a blade aimed at Sarah's lies. She whispered, "Every secret you buried, I'll dig up." Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with adrenaline. Alex sat across, shifting uneasily. "This is too much, Emily. What if it destroys you too?" She didn't look up, eyes locked on the papers. "It already has. Now I'm just finishing the job." He sighed, his voice breaking. "I don't want to watch you turn into someone else." Emily finally lifted her head, eyes fierce. "Then watch me turn into the one person Sarah can't destroy." At the bookshop, Robert watched Emily pace between the shelves, her energy sharp like a storm. he said quietly. You're crossing into dangerous waters. Emily's eyes flashed as she snapped. She crossed them first. Robert sighed, his voice heavy. I once chased revenge, and I lost more than I can speak of. Emily slowed, her face torn between fury and sorrow. Then maybe I need to lose to understand. His eyes softened with regret. Or maybe you can learn without falling into the same abyss. She stopped, gripping the edge of a shelf, knuckles white. If I walk away now, I'll never forgive myself. His silence was filled with old scars and unspoken warnings. Meanwhile, Sarah sat at a candlelit dinner table with Mark, her laughter echoing across polished silverware. Her eyes gleamed with victory as she raised her glass. She's unraveling, Mark, just like I planned. Mark smirked, his tone cruel. Emily never had the strength to fight. Sarah leaned forward, her smile sharpening. Then we'll keep tightening the strings until she breaks. Yet as the candlelight flickered, a shadow of unease flickered across her face. She glanced at her phone on the table, unread messages piling up. For the first time, her laugh faltered, just slightly, before she masked it with another sip of wine. Emily's hands shook as she opened a sealed envelope slipped under her door. Inside were photos, old ones, of Anna, Sarah, and Mark. Her stomach twisted when she saw Sarah's handwriting across the back. She was never the first. Emily whispered, "Oh my God, it's always been you." The truth hit like thunder. Sarah's betrayal had not begun with Mark. She had destroyed Anna first, orchestrating everything in shadows. Emily pressed the photos against her chest, rage igniting her blood. "You've been weaving lies for years," she muttered, voice trembling with fury. Every memory of Sarah now felt like poison carved into her skin. She clenched her teeth and whispered, "You made a game out of ruining lives, but now the game is over." Flashbacks swirled in Emily's mind. She saw Anna smiling years ago, then fading as Sarah whispered lies into the ears of others. In another vision, Sarah stood close to Mark even when Emily wasn't looking, her eyes cold and calculating. Emily whispered, "You never cared for friendship." Each flash burned, twisting the knife deeper. She recalled Anna's broken voice the last time they spoke, begging Emily to believe her. Emily shut her eyes, guilt crushing her chest. "I abandoned her when she needed me most." Her fists tightened. "Not this time. You won't win again." The betrayal stretched far beyond her own pain. It was a chain of destruction Sarah had forged. And Emily swore she would break it. Alex sat with Emily on her couch, his face pale, as she revealed the photos. His voice cracked. "She didn't just betray you. She's been doing this for years." Emily's voice was raw. "She destroys people for fun, Alex. We were all pawns." Alex rubbed his hands together, staring at the floor. "Emily, this is bigger than I thought. You could get hurt worse than you already are." She shook her head, determination blazing in her eyes. "No, Alex. I won't be another Anna." Her chest rose and fell, fury and purpose intertwining. "I'll show the world who Sarah really is." Alex looked at her, torn between fear and loyalty. Finally, he nodded slowly. "Then I'll stand by you, no matter what it costs." At the bookshop, Emily confronted Robert with the photos. Her voice shook. "You knew, didn't you?" Robert's weary eyes lowered as he exhaled. "I warned you because I've seen Sarah's cruelty. Anna came to me once begging for help." Emily's chest tightened, fury mixing with grief. "And you let her suffer alone?" Robert's gaze hardened, guilt etched across his face. "I failed her, Emily. I won't fail you." She stepped closer, eyes blazing. "Then help me expose Sarah. Help me end this." Robert's voice was heavy, but steady. "If you walk this road, you'll never return unchanged." Emily's voice cut through the silence, sharp and unyielding. "I don't want to return. I want justice." Sarah stood in her apartment, staring at her phone screen. Messages and photos spread online. Emily had begun her move. Her hands trembled as she scrolled, fury and fear colliding. Mark entered, his voice sharp. "What is this? People are asking questions." Sarah slammed the phone onto the counter, glass rattling. She's digging where she shouldn't. She thinks she can ruin me. Her face hardened, though a flicker of panic shadowed her eyes. Mark smirked, shaking his head. Maybe she's stronger than you thought. Sarah glared at him, venom in her tone. She'll regret this. But her heart raced, and for the first time, cracks spread through her perfect mask. The hotel ballroom glittered with chandeliers, but Emily felt the floor hum like a live wire under her heels. She gripped the mic, breath steady, pulse wild. She said, "Thank you for coming. I have a story to end." Guests shifted as Sarah glided in with Mark, smiles sharp as glass. Emily met her eyes and did not blink. She said, "Some masks look expensive, but they still crack." Alex waited near the projector, phone ready, jaw tight. Robert stood by the AV rack, fingers hovering over the switch like a judge. Emily's voice cut through the clink of glasses. She said, "Truth can be late, but it never gets lost." Sarah tilted her chin and smirked. She said, "You're embarrassing yourself." Emily breathed once, slow and clear. She said, "No, Sarah, I'm opening the curtains." The room held its breath as the lights dimmed and the screen came alive. The first slide showed smiling faces and captions that curdled second glance. Emily's voice stayed even. She said, "Timelines matter. So do receipts." Sarah stepped forward, tone honeyed and sharp. She said, "This is petty and cruel." Mark laughed softly, then looked away when eyes turned. Emily pointed to dates, messages, bank transfers, whispers trapped in screenshots. She said, "You called it strategy. I call it harm." Sarah spread her hands, feigning pity. She said, "She's unstable. This is a spiral." Murmurs rippled like a tide under glass. Emily did not flinch. She said, "Ask Anna why she disappeared." The room chilled. Sarah's smile thinned to a wire. Emily nodded to Robert. She said, "Roll the audio." The chandeliers trembled with the hush that followed. Backstage, Michael leaned in the shadowed corridor, jaw tight, conscience louder than orders. He watched Sarah's mask twitch in the bright wash of the screen. He muttered, "Enough." Emily stepped off stage between clips, breath fogging in the cooler air. Michael held out a small drive like it burned. He said, "Security cam pulse. You'll want the 314 feet." Emily stared, shocked by the fracture in his steel. She said, "Why help me now?" He looked away, voice gravel. He said, "I don't break women for sport." Robert appeared at the door, eyes asking questions he did not voice. Emily nodded once. She said, "Load it." Michael exhaled as if chains loosened. He said, "Be quick. She'll feel the floor shift." The corridor thrummed like a heart learning a new beat. The feed filled the screen with a quiet lobby. Then Sarah entered frame with Mark, words caught by a nearby mic. Sarah's voice bled through the speakers. She said, "Push her out, then smile." Mark's answer was a shrug made of smoke. He said, "If she screams alone." Gasps broke like glass across the room. Sarah lunged toward the controls, but Alex blocked her, firm and calm. Emily stood centered, hands steady at her sides. She said, "This is not rumor. This is record." Sarah's poise splintered, eyes flashing like knives in the light. She said, "You set me up." Emily shook her head once. She said, "You set yourself up. I just turned on the lights." Robert kept the audio rolling until silence said the rest. Silence held for a breath, then the crowd erupted with questions that sounded like verdicts. Mark stepped back from Sarah as if the floor burned. He said, "I'm done." Sponsors whispered into phones that closed doors. Security hovered at the edge of the light, waiting for a cue. Sarah's voice cracked as fury met fear. She said, "You will regret this." Emily's answer was quiet and final. She said, "I already did. Now I heal." Robert powered down the screen, leaving only chandeliers and truth. Alex moved to Emily's side, hand steady at her shoulder. He said, "It's over." Emily looked past Sarah to the exit and the night beyond. She said, "No more shadows." The room exhaled, and the old story finally let go. Emily walked through the city streets at dawn, her heels tapping against wet pavement. The storm had passed, and golden light washed the skyline. She breathed deeply, chest lighter than it had felt in months. She whispered, "It's over." The weight of betrayal no longer suffocated her. Mark was gone, Sarah was exposed, and Anna's story had finally been heard. Yet shadows of guilt clung faintly, reminders of how close she had come to losing herself. She thought of Robert's warning and Alec's loyalty, and gratitude softened her hardened edges. For the first time, Emily felt the air taste like freedom. At the bookshop, Robert set down 2 cups of tea, his hands steady though his eyes heavy with memory. He said, "You ended her game." Emily nodded, voice low. "But it changed me." He studied her face, finding resilience where once was pain. She whispered, "Anna can rest now." Robert closed his eyes, shoulders easing. "And you?" She exhaled softly. "I'm still learning who I am without the weight." Silence stretched, filled only by the rustle of pages. In that quiet, Emily felt scars, but also survival. Emily sat with Alex on a park bench as autumn leaves swirled. He said, "You did what you set out to do." She smiled faintly, eyes tired but proud. "Yes, but revenge doesn't heal. It only clears the path." Alex leaned closer, his voice soft. "I was afraid I'd lose you." She touched his hand briefly, whispering, "You kept me here." The wind carried their silence, not heavy, but healing. Emily stared at the horizon, seeing not enemies or battles, but possibility. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a life not defined by Sarah's shadow. In a quiet corner of her apartment, Emily placed Anna's journal on the shelf, its worn cover facing outward. She whispered, "Your story isn't forgotten." Her fingers lingered on the spine before she stepped back. The apartment was no longer just walls holding her grief. It felt like a place where she could breathe again. Her reflection in the window was no longer fractured but whole, though scarred. Emily's eyes softened, carrying strength where once there was only rage. She whispered, "I'm not broken. I'm rebuilt." The night was quiet as Emily stood on the rooftop, the city stretching endless below. She closed her eyes, wind lifting her hair. Her voice was steady, carrying into the dark. "The betrayal nearly destroyed me, but it didn't." She opened her eyes to the glittering skyline, each light a reminder of survival. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "This is not the end. It's only the beginning." She turned, walking away from the edge with slow, certain steps, leaving the skyline behind her. Silence followed, powerful and final.